Hi and welcome back to Sadie's Spincraft. Today is a spin and story time, so we'll be doing chapter 2 of Poison Study by Maria V. Snyder. And it's a Yelena Zaltana novel. There's 3 of them. So I'm just reading this as a voiceover. I hope you all enjoy chapter 2. Chapter 2. Valak snapped the folder closed. He walked to the door, his stride as graceful and light as a snow cat traverses thin ice. The guards waiting in the hall snapped to attention when the door opened. Valak spoke to them, and they nodded. One guard came towards me. I stared at him. Going back to the dungeon had not been part of Valak's offer. Could I escape? I scanned the room. The guards spun me around and removed the manacles and chains that had been draped around me since I'd been arrested. Raw bands of flesh circled my wrists. I touched my neck, feeling skin where there used to be metal. My fingers came away sticky with blood. I groped for the chair. Being freed of the weight of the chains caused a strange sensation to sweep over me. I felt as if I were either going to float away or pass out. I inhaled until the faintness passed. When I regained my composure, I noticed Valak now stood beside his desk, pouring 2 drinks. An opened wooden cabinet revealed rows of odd-shaped bottles and multicoloured jars stacked inside. Valak placed the bottle he was holding into the cabinet and locked the door. While we're waiting for Marg, I thought maybe you could use a drink. He handed me a tall pewter goblet filled with an amber liquid. Raising his own goblet, he made a toast. To Yelena, our newest food taster. May you last longer than your predecessor. My goblet stopped short of my lips. Relax, he said. It's a standard toast. I took a long swig. The smooth liquid burned slightly as it slid down my throat. For a moment, I thought my stomach was going to rebel. This was the first time I had taken something other than water. Then it settled. Before I could question him as to what exactly had happened to the previous food taster, Valak asked me to identify the ingredients of the drink. Taking a smaller portion, I replied, peaches sweetened with honey. Good. Now take another sip. This time roll the liquid around your tongue before swallowing. I complied and was surprised to taste a faint citrus flavour. Orange. That's right, now gargle it. Gargle? I asked. He nodded. Feeling foolish, I gargled the rest of my drink and almost spat it out. Rotten oranges! The skin around Valak's eyes crinkled as he laughed. He had a strong, angular face, as if someone had stamped it from a sheet of metal, but it softened when he smiled. Handing me his drink, he asked me to repeat the experiment. With some trepidation, I took a sip, again detecting the faint orange taste. Bracing myself for the rancid flavour, I gargled Valak's drink and was relieved that gargling only enhanced the orange essence. Better? Valak asked as he took back the empty cup. Yes. Valak sat down behind his desk, opening my folder once more. Picking up his quill, he talked to me while writing. You just had your first lesson in food tasting. Your drink was laced with a poison called butterfly's dust. Mine wasn't. The only way to detect butterfly's dust in a drink is to gargle it. The rotten orange flavour you tasted was the poison. I rose, my head spinning. Is it lethal? A big enough dose will kill you in 2 days. The symptoms don't arrive until the 2nd day, but by then it's too late. Did I have a lethal dose? I held my breath. Of course. Anything less, and you wouldn't have tasted the poison. My stomach rebelled and I started to gag. I forced down the bile in my throat, trying hard to avoid the indignity of vomiting all over Valik's desk. Valik looked up from the stack of papers. He studied my face. I warned you the training would be dangerous, but I would hardly give you a poison your body had to fight while you suffered from malnutrition. There is an antidote to butterfly's dust. He showed me a small vial containing a white liquid. Collapsing back into my chair, I sighed. Valik's metal face had returned. I realised he hadn't offered the antidote to me. In answer to the question you didn't ask, but should have, this, Valik raised a small vial and shook it, is how we keep the commander's food taster from escaping. I stared at him, trying to understand the implications. Yelena, you confessed to murder. We would be fools to let you serve the commander without some guarantees. Guards watch the commander at all times, and it is doubtful you would be able to reach him with a weapon. For other forms of retaliation, we use butterfly's dust. Valik picked up the vial of antidote and twirled it in the sunlight. You need a daily dose of this to stay alive. The antidote keeps the poison from killing you. As long as you show up each morning in my office, I will give you the antidote. Miss one morning and you'll be dead by the next. Commit a crime or an act of treason and you'll be sent back to the dungeon until the poison takes you. I would avoid that fate if I were you. The poison causes severe stomach cramps and uncontrollable vomiting. Before full comprehension of my situation could sink in, Valik's eyes slid past my shoulder. I turned to see a stout woman in a housekeeper's uniform opening the door. Valik introduced her as Marg, the person who would take care of my basic needs, expecting me to follow her. Marg strode out of the door. I glanced at the vial on Valik's desk. Come to my office tomorrow morning. Marg will direct you. An obvious dismissal, but I paused at the door with all the questions I should have asked poised on my lips. I swallowed them. They sank like stones to my stomach. Then I closed the door and hurried after Marg, who hadn't stopped to wait. Marg never slowed her pace. I found myself panting with the effort to keep up, trying to remember the various corridors and turns. I soon gave up as my whole world shrank to the sight of Marg's broad back and efficient stride. Her long black skirt seemed to float above the floor. The housekeeper uniform included a black skirt and white apron that hung from the neck down to the ankles and was cinched tight around the waist. The apron had 2 vertical rows of small red diamond shapes connected end to end. When Marg finally stopped at the baths, I had to sit on the floor to clear my spinning head. You stink, Marg said, disgust creasing her wide face. She pointed to the far side of the baths in a manner that indicated she was used to being obeyed. Wash twice, then soak. I'll bring you some uniforms. She left the room. The overpowering desire to bathe flashed like fire on my skin. Energized, I ripped the prison robe off and raced to the washing area. Hot water poured down in a cascade when I opened the duct above my head. The commander's castle was equipped with heated water tanks located 1 floor above the baths. A luxury even Brazil's extravagant manor house didn't have. I stood for a long time, hoping the drumming on my head would erase all thoughts of poisons. Obediently, I washed my hair and body twice. My neck, wrists and ankles burned from the soap, but I didn't care. I scrubbed 2 more times, rubbing hard at the stubborn spots of dirt on my skin, stopping only when I realised they were bruises. I felt unconnected to my body under the waterfall. The pain and humiliation of being arrested and locked away had been inflicted on this body, but my soul had long since been driven out during the last 2 years I had lived in Brazil's manor house. An image of Brazil's son suddenly flashed before me. Rayad's handsome face distorted with rage. I stepped back, reflexively jerking my hands up to block him. The image disappeared, leaving me shaking. It was an effort to dry off and wrap a towel around me. I tried to focus on finding a comb instead of the ugly memories Rayad's image called forth. Even clean, my snarled hair resisted the comb. As I reached for a pair of scissors, I spotted another person in the baths from the corner of my eye. I stared at the body. A corpse looked back at me. The green eyes were the only signs of life in the gaunt, oval face. Thin stick legs looked incapable of holding the rest of the body up. Recognition shot through me like a cold splash of fear. It was my body. I averted my eyes from the mirror, having no desire to assess the damage. Coward, I thought, returning my gaze with a purpose. Had Rayad's death released my soul from where it had fled? In my mind, I tried to reconnect my spirit to my body. Why did I think my soul would return if my body was still not mine? It belonged to Commander Ambrose to be used as a tool for filtering and testing poisons. I turned away. Pulling clumps of knotted hair out with the comb, I arranged the rest into a single long braid down my back. Not long ago, all I had hoped for was a clean prison robe before my execution, and now here I was sinking into the commander's famous hot baths. "That's long enough," Marg barked, startling me out of a light doze. "Here are your uniforms. Get dressed." Her stiff face radiated disapproval. As I dried myself, I felt Marg's impatience. Along with some undergarments, the food taster's uniform consisted of black pants, wide red satin belt, and a red satin shirt with a line of small black diamond shapes connected end to end down each of the sleeves. The clothes were obviously sized for a man. Malnourished and measuring only 4 inches past 5 feet, I looked like a child playing pretend with her father's clothes. I wrapped the belt 3 times around my waist and rolled up the sleeves and pant legs. Marg snorted. "Valak only told me to feed you and show you to your room, but I think we'll stop by the seamstresses first." Pausing to open the door, Marg pursed her lips and added, "You'll need boots too." Obediently, I followed Marg like a lost puppy. The seamstress, Yelena, laughed gaily at my appearance. Her heart-shaped face had a halo of curly blonde hair. Honey-coloured eyes and long eyelashes enhanced her beauty. The stable boys wear the same pants, and the kitchen maids wear the red shirts. Yelena said when she had stifled her giggles. She admonished Marg for not spending the time to find me better-sized uniforms. Marg pushed her lips together tighter. Fussing around me like a grandmother instead of a young woman, Yelena's attentions warmed me. Pulling me towards her, I envisioned us becoming friends. She probably had many acquaintances and suitors who came to bask in her attentions, like cave dwellers drawn to a blazing hearth. I found myself aching to reach out to her. After writing my measurements down, Yelena searched through the piles of red, black and white clothing stacked around the room. Everyone who worked in Ixia wore a uniform. The commander's castle's servants and guards wore a variation of black, white and red colour clothes with vertical diamond shapes either down the sleeves of the shirts or down the sides of the pants. Advisors and high-ranking officers usually wore all black with small red diamonds stitched on the collar to show rank. The uniform system became mandatory when the commander gained power, so everyone knew at a glance who they were dealing with. Black and red were Commander Ambrose's colours. The territory of Ixia had been separated into 8 military districts, each ruled by a general. The uniforms of the 8 districts were identical to the commanders except for the colour. A housekeeper wearing black with small purple diamond shapes on her apron therefore worked in Military District 3 or MD3. I think these should fit better. She handed me some clothes, gesturing to the privacy screen at the end of the room. While I was changing, I heard Yelena say, "She'll need boots." Feeling less foolish in my new clothes, I picked up the old uniforms and gave them to Yelena. Excuse me. "These must have belonged to Oskov, the old food taster," Yelena said. A sad expression gripped her face for a moment before she shook her head as if to rid herself of an unwanted thought. All my fantasies of friendship fled me as I realised that being friends with the commander's food taster was a big emotional risk. My stomach hollowed out while Yelena's warmth leaked from me, leaving a cold bitterness behind. A sharp stab of loneliness struck me as an unwanted image of Mate and Cara, who still lived at Brazil's manor, flashed before my eyes. My fingers twitched to fix Cara's crooked braids and to straighten Mae's skirt. Instead of Cara's silky ginger hair in my hands, I held a stack of clothes. Yelena guided me to a chair. Kneeling on the floor, she put socks on my feet and a pair of boots. The boots were made of soft black leather. They came up over my ankle to mid-calf, where the leather folded down. Yelena tucked my pant legs into the boots and helped me stand. I hadn't worn shoes in seasons, and I expected them to chafe, but the boots cushioned my feet and fit well. I smiled at Yelena. Thoughts of Mae and Cara temporarily banished. These were the finest pair of boots I'd ever worn. She smiled back and said, "I can always pick the right size boots without having to measure." Marg harumphed. "You didn't get poor Anne's boots right. He's too smitten with you to complain. Now he limps around the kitchen." "Don't pay her any attention," Yelena said. "Marg, don't you have work to do? Get going, or I'll sneak into your room and shorten all your skirts." Yelena shooed us good-naturedly out of the door. Marg took me to the servants' dining room and served me small portions of soup and bread. The soup tasted divine. After devouring the food, I asked for more. "No, too much will make you sick," was all she said. With reluctance, I left my bowl on the table to follow Marg to my room. At sunrise, be ready to work. Once again, I watched her retreating back. My small room contained a narrow bed with a single stained mattress on a stark metal frame, a plain wooden desk and a chair, a chamber pot, an armoire, a lantern, a tiny wood stove, and one window shuttered tight. The grey stone walls were unadorned. I tested the mattress. It barely yielded, a vast improvement over the dungeon cell, yet I found myself somewhat dissatisfied. Nothing in the room suggested softness. With my mind and eyes filled with Valik's metal face and Marg's censure, and the harsh cut and colours of the uniform, I longed for a pillow or a blanket. I felt like a lost child looking for something to clutch, something supple that wouldn't end up hurting me. After hanging my extra uniforms in the armoire, I crossed to the window. There was a sill wide enough for me to sit on. The shutters were locked, but the latches were on the inside. Hands shaking, I unlocked and pushed the shutters wide. Blinking in the sudden light, shielding my eyes, I squinted beneath my hands and stared at the scene in front of my window in disbelief. I was on the first floor of the castle. 5 feet below was the ground. Between my room and the stables were the commander's kennels and the exercise yard for the horses. The stable boys and dog trainers wouldn't care if I escaped. I could drop down without any effort and be gone. Tempting, except for the fact that I would be dead in 2 days. Maybe another time, when 2 days of freedom might be worth the price. I could hope. Well, I hope you all enjoyed that. Thank you so much for watching and listening. If you would like chapter 3, please comment below and I'll start spinning now. All right, my darlings, I love you lots. Oh, and don't forget, if you are new to the channel, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you don't miss any random uploads that I do. And yeah, no matter where you are in the world, whether it's morning, afternoon, evening or night time, I want you to do what you love doing. Love and hugs to all you fantastic people out there. And I shall see you all again soon. Bye, my beautifuls. Mwah.